Take time.
You're listening to WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM, and we're howling at the moon with Sam Bush. We have on the line the legendary Sam Bush. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm well, Wizardress. Can you hear me?
I can,
Am
I
I coming
can.
through? Great.
You're coming through great. How are you doing? I know you're busy going all sorts of places, right?
All kinds of things. Yeah, we were just last week in Oregon and Kalispell, Montana, a few places in Oregon, driving around that beautiful state. And then just last night, then we got home, say Monday, Tuesday, Tim O'Brien and I had a 6 hour rehearsal. And last night, Tim and I did our first ever duet show in Nashville or in Madison, Tennessee. So today, coming to you live from Greensboro, North Carolina, where me and my band will be playing tonight. So yeah, hey, it's good to work. It's good to play. It's good to get out and do it.
It's good to play. It's good to be out and doing it. And you've been doing it a while, right? Do you enjoy the touring? Do you enjoy that life?
I do. I mean, let's be honest. What we do for a living is we actually travel for a living. We just get to play music 2 hours a night. But
It's a good
yes,
way
I
to put it.
do.
Yeah.
I do. And you know, back in it was somewhere around like, well, it really was around 2019, 2020. I was thinking, gosh, I don't been doing this since 1970. So, do we keep doing this? And then we had a forced year off in 2020. So I found out, no, I'm not ready to stop doing it. I love playing, and really love playing live more than anything else. Doing shows, that's the most fun.
It really is. I'm sure during that time, off with the pandemic, it kind of put it in perspective how much you missed the people and the vibe, right?
Absolutely, and not just the audience, but miss going around seeing different parts of America, and maybe I hadn't stopped to think about how many friends we have and how many pals we've made over the years that we get to see, and what a privileged chair that is to get to sit in.
It really is. Yeah, I think sometimes we need to have things have to be taken away for us to realize how much we appreciate them, right? Because that was just the life was going and performing and traveling. You've spoken about how beautiful this country is and how lucky you've been to be able to see pretty much all of it with your music, right?
Yes, and I think that is a great thing to get to do. I mean, I've thought about it a lot. Like my parents were from rural Kentucky, and uh, they didn't leave the farm much. We were farmers, or they were farmers. I was trying to get off the farm, and I did. But but I think they went to Wyoming a couple of times because we were at a cattle farm. They went out to buy cattle and stuff, and so I just wish everybody, it would just be great for people if they could get out and see other parts of this country. I think it could change their perspective a little bit, and it'd be good for all of us if we could do that.
Absolutely. I think you're right. It's one of those things that we don't realize we have so much history in this country and so much to still see, so going on a little road trip and seeing it that way through the eyes of the front of the van, or being able to
Yes,
have something like you're saying, like, music, traveling is your job and music is what you get to do while you do it. That's a
it is.
beautiful thing, it is.
I mean, yes, I literally was just seeing Oregon, and we drove across the state, and there's a wide variety. It was everything. It was forests, mountains, and plateaus, and then you're kind of coming into a high desert. This is just driving from Portland to Bend, Oregon, and back. But today, being in North Carolina, it's a beautiful state, and then not every and the cities. I don't take our beautiful cities for granted. Chicago is a wonderful place. We've been there so many times over the years. And it was in Chicago that I think I was 19, and the first time we came up, and I went into like a little deli kind of thing, and I was trying to order a sandwich, and with my Kentucky accent, I didn't never thought about that, right? That the person behind the counter couldn't understand me and I couldn't understand them. And we
Ah,
were both speaking English. So it was like, I realized I'm going to have to learn to talk if I want to, continue to eat in this country. So yeah, I mean, it's great the variety we have. And I wish people could appreciate that a little more.
thank you for that. We're talking to Sam Bush here on The Wizard. It's 2 o'clock, WZRD Chicago. He's coming to Ravinia to the beautiful Martin Theater, which is this Saturday, the 25th, so just 2 days from now. And, talking about life on the road, talking about traveling, gets me to be excited that you're coming here. Chicago is a great place. Ravinia is a great place. Have you been to that specific venue before?
Been to Ravinia, but just not in the Martin Theater yet. So that we hear good things about, and looking forward to that. I mean, Chicago's near and dear to me, and that we started coming up. First time we ever came was because our friend we was our band Newgrass Revival in our early stages. Uh, we had made, we'd already made a lot of buddies already, and one of them was Steve Goodman. And Steve got us an audition at a club where he had played a lot, and so that's back when we were literally driving around, going to different cities, auditioning in places. And Steve Goodman helped us with that. We played many times in Evanston at a place called the Amazing Grace in the '70s, where Jethro Burns, my mandolin hero, would be opening for us, which was a mind blower for me because I loved him and I learned so much from him. And it's just it's such a uh, oh, and it was of course in Chicago where Steve Goodman was producing an album by John that for John Prine that
Hmm.
came to be called Bruised Orange. That was recorded in Chicago, and had a wonderful experience working on that record with Steve and John Prine. So got some
Wow.
great memories of musical friends that I made.
That's amazing. I love that. Absolutely. I mean, Steve Goodman, John Prine, both, Chicago legends. Um,
Absolutely.
and to be in their presence, I'm sure is super, super amazing. Thank you for sharing that too, because I know Chicago's a big city and there's all sorts of different things you can do here, but that makes me so happy to hear that you guys were all work together. What was Steve Goodman like as a person? I'm interested in him, and I went to the post office the other day, and the entire post office was all Steve Goodman, and I was like, I need to get
Really?
more into him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was a wonderful guy, and the way we met was when I first got out of high school in 1970. I moved to Louisville, Kentucky, and within a couple months of graduating, moved to Louisville. Started playing with the bluegrass band at a bar called the Red Dog Saloon, and the person there was a solo entertainer alternating sets with us, and it was a guy named Steve Goodman. And as as I would sit and listen to his songs, and just how great I I'd never been around really a solo performer before, and how great he
Hmm.
was at that. And we stayed friends all those years, to the point, Steve had a long battle with leukemia, and so in 1982, I had cancer and surgery, two surgeries, chemotherapies, but it was Goodwin who called me in the hospital to encourage me to go on and go through the chemotherapy that he and I think what he said was, "Hey Sammy, chemo ain't cute, but you can do it, man. Now take your medicine." He said,
Oh.
"Remember those doctors, they don't take the stuff themselves. They're just the most violent, ruthless drug dealers we have. So, just he said they haven't taken this medicine, but you just take your medicine and take that stuff, and I'll see you next year."
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That really shows his character, right?
Totally.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you got through that, and I'm glad that you had such a cool mentor buddy that could call you and say, "Hey, take your medicine."
Yeah, and well, and at that time, benefits were being thrown all over the country for me, and Steve was part of one in Chicago, and Jethro Burns was as well, and Johnny Burns, and so yeah, there's Chicago is is a dear place to me.
That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing. And I wonder if you yourself have any advice for anybody if they're going through cancer right now, or anything that you would say on top of what Steve said to people to keep give them hope.
Uh, well, just it's kind of like Guy Clark and I wrote a song because we had both been through cancer, and Guy did die from it. But our song said, cancer, you ain't ruling me. So yes, we had it and we've gone through it, but it didn't rule you, and it doesn't rule you. It can't rule your mind, and so it can sometimes be hard to have a positive attitude with it, but that's a big part of the fight.
That's great advice. Thank you, Sam, for sharing that. Sam Bush, everybody here on The Wizard, giving us hope and playing tunes for us, making us feel good. We just heard we played a couple songs, but we heard the one with Green Sky Bluegrass that just came out recently. You guys did a really good song called Can't Stop Now. Tell me about that track.
Well, Can't Stop Now was originally done by Newgrass Revival when we were on Capitol Records in the late '80s, and it was they were selling us in the country market, and I'll give them credit, they tried to sell us in the country market. We didn't really change that much. We were still a guy band that featured banjo and mandolin, and so that was an uphill battle in that in that recording world probably. But at any rate, Can't Stop Now was just one that was fast tempoed and fun to play. And so when Green Sky wanted me to play on I played mandolin originally with Newgrass Revival on that cut, but when they wanted me to play on it, it was my pleasure because I really love Green Sky a lot. Matter of fact, I'm going to play with them in I guess Kalamazoo on Halloween for their 25th anniversary show. So that's pretty
Wow,
great.
that
Congrats!
is.
I just talked to Anders Beck this morning on the phone, and gearing up for that, uh, but that cut with Green Sky up there, it's a wild position to be in because I'm just still out trying to play and sing in tune, right? And
Hmm.
and you don't think of yourself as someone that people are influenced by, perhaps. And so that's a pretty flattering thing, and I really love Green Sky Bluegrass.
They are great. I can't believe it's been 25 years. That's blowing my mind.
It
Um,
is.
because I feel like it was just yesterday they came on the scene, and it was like, oh, we're getting, some new grass around. And I mean, you're prolific, Sam. Give yourself a little credit. I know it's hard sometimes, but there are definitely people who think of you as a mentor, somebody who has helped them get through, their chops. You've been doing it a long time. Tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in Kentucky and listening to your dad's records and being influenced in that way. Like, was your family influencing your musical history?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was lucky that we grew up in a household that loved music, and music was played, encouraged. Like I said, our parents were farmers. I had a couple of older sisters that in the early '60s, when the folk boom hit, that they started singing duet versions of Peter, Paul, and Mary songs. And so it wasn't long before I was playing My father had these fiddle records by a Grand Ole Opry fiddler named Tommy Jackson, and Tommy was uh, kind of the best example of what country fiddle sounded like. He was a wonderful player, and he made these instrumental records, and there'd be a fiddle and mandolin playing melodies in unison, and I liked that sound a lot. So the mandolin was the instrument that was appealing to me the most. So I started off by getting a mandolin, and at age 11, and trying to copy these Tommy Jackson fiddle records. And you know, I I know all of my teachers in school from that point on must have thought I had a learning disability, and maybe I did, but my brain was consumed with these tunes, and I could just remember sitting in class and thinking of these tunes and wondering if I've got the melodies right, trying to figure them out, and then couldn't wait till I got home to grab the mandolin and see if I was correct trying to play these tunes. And then the love of the mandolin led me to pay attention to where the music that the mandolin was being played in the most, which was bluegrass. And so we lived only 55 miles north of Nashville, Tennessee, in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and so we could get a very good reception to the WSM and hear the Grand Ole Opry. So, that scene in Coal Miner's Daughter movie with Sissy Spacek where they're all sitting around, Levon Helm's her dad, and they're sitting around listening to the radio and listening to the Grand Ole Opry. Well, that was us on a Friday, Saturday night. We'd be
Wow.
sitting and listening to that music. And I remember one night Bill Monroe came on and just played John Henry and just burned it up, and I was just knocked out. And that was very inspirational to get to hear those kind of things live off the radio. And then I remember after I heard that Bill do John Henry, my dad was a country music fan. I was the one that they started loving bluegrass. My dad loved Hank Williams and Roy Acuff, Patsy Cline. And so after I heard Bill play that John Henry, I said, "Oh," I was knocked out. And my dad said, that ain't nothing. You need to hear Jethro Burns." So my father already knew that Jethro was the greatest mandolin player in the world, and I needed to listen to him too. And I did. And so but yes, growing up and really looking back, growing up on a farm, it was I was influenced by, farmers have the most incredible self-discipline there is.
Oh yeah.
You can lay in the house and get nothing done, or you can get out and get your work done, right? And so I think my dad and mother's work ethic, influenced me. I've never had to work as hard as they did. I mean, it's a different kind of work, and you have to have with being a musician and having of course, you must have self-discipline, but not like feeding them old cows in 20 below zero weather, right?
No, definitely not. Wow. Yeah, it's true. You probably learned a lot just how to do the hustle, right? The hustle of work from your.
Yep, yep, yeah. We did, and so in that way, my dad encouraged me to play music, and of course he loved fiddle playing. So when I started playing fiddle when I was about 13, well, let's put it this way: if my father had his way, I would have been the staff fiddler on the Grand Ole Opry, which is a good job. Which is a good job, but I just never felt like that was what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And but we by the time I was 14, I was going to Weezer, Idaho, playing in fiddle contests, and I started winning it. It was called the National Junior Champion, but then, well, that was in Weezer. Then I'd go to Texas and really get, get beaten badly. Wouldn't even come into top five. But I learned a lot more from doing that and hearing the great Texas fiddlers too. And but Weezer, Idaho, going there, I met Byron Berline, who was who became one of a good friend to me and my big brother kind of influence, and what such a wonderful fiddle player. You might have first heard Byron Berline playing fiddle because he's the fiddle player on Country Honk by the Rolling Stones on Let It Bleed
Oh,
Let It
bleed.
Bleed. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
that's Byron. And but anyhow, it was just, and as my father and I would go to Nashville, we went to the Grand Ole Opry and made the acquaintance of Roy Acuff, and Mr. Acuff was good to us, and then he became a friend to my dad, and I was actually Acuff's dressing room when he wasn't on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry. He had his own dressing room across the back alley from the Ryman Auditorium in a building that he owned. I later would find out that Roy Acuff owned the entire block from 4th to 5th on Broadway in Nashville.
Oh,
And yeah, he had done well. He was the first country music publisher of music. He published the Hank Williams songs. So Mr. Acuff so he had his own dressing room across the back alley from the Grand Ole Opry, and they would all be in there, him and his whole band. and it would be a running fiddle jam session the whole time till it was time for them to go on stage. So I was privy to watch these great fiddlers and play along with them. And then when I was 16, one night we were come backstage at the Grand Ole Opry and the Ryman Auditorium, and it was Friday night. And all of a sudden, my dad walked up with my fiddle and my bow, and he said, "Roy's going to put you on the Opry. What are you going to play?" And your heart leaps through your throat, right? And but went out and played the fiddle tune on the Grand Ole Opry when I was 16, thanks to Mr.
16.
Acuff. Yeah,
Wow.
and only Roy Acuff had the power to do that, to just put some kid on playing the fiddle and not have to run it by any of the powers that be, because Acuff literally ran that place. And so it was pretty privileged. And again, I've been in some great situations where, and actually when I was 18, Mr. Acuff offered me a job to play in his road band, but I didn't do it. That wasn't for me. I was 18, and there were a variety of reasons. I didn't want to be in a band full of people that were my father's age, and I didn't really want to play country music. I wanted to either play rock and roll or bluegrass, and of course I've always played kind of a combination of rock and roll and bluegrass, right? And the other reason was that their very first trip was to go to Vietnam in 1970. I didn't want to go to Vietnam under any circumstances.
No.
So I moved to Louisville to start playing bluegrass.
That's amazing. What a story. Thanks for walking us through that. Thanks, Mr. Roy Acuff, for getting you on that stage. I mean,
Yeah,
that had to be huge, but also, thank you, politely declined, but thank you for what you've given me because he gave you a lot in just those moments and being able to be.
yeah. Only years later, many years later, I would think to myself, "You turned down what? You the most the most powerful man in Nashville in country music. You did not take advantage of that." But no, I didn't. I followed my musical heart to bluegrass and rock and roll, and being in bands with partnerships with other people in bands. And I've always loved to be in a band. I guess that's why at the age I am, which unbelievably is 73 now,
No way.
that I'm still in a five-piece band. So I still love being in the ensemble.
I love that. I love that. What was one of your first concerts, rock and roll wise, that kind of made you say, I want to do rock and roll too, not just bluegrass, but
Uh, when in Bowling Green, when the Dick Clark's Caravan of Stars would come through Bowling Green. Now, granted, Bowling Green was a very small town when I grew up in, and so Dick Clark came through town, and the stars of the show were Paul Revere and the Raiders, and but also was the guy that I really loved was Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. and
oh
I
my God.
got and I got Sam's autograph, and the way he signed his name is the way that I to this day write the name Sam, like Sam the Sham did.
No way.
and, and crazy. And many years later, I mean, we're talking, God, no telling how many, 40 years later, uh, my wife and Lynn and I were at the Grammys, and we were riding the shuttle bus, and they would, back from the hotel, from this official hotel and back. And this guy got on the bus wearing a beret and a Van Dyke beard and real cool looking, probably in his 70s. And just the way he talked, somebody asked him a question, and he went, "Yeah, babies." And I thought, is, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, is your name Sam?" He goes, "Yeah, babies." and it was, and it sham. And we ended up back at the bar having some drinks with Lynn and I had some drinks with Sam the Sham. It was great. He was a great guy.
Wow, that's amazing. That's like the real, the origins, like when these guys had the names, the personas in rock and
Right,
roll.
right.
Well,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm still mixed up on what his real last name is.
Oh yeah. But
Possibly
I love
Shapiro.
Okay.
Shapiro.
Shapiro. I think it's yeah, what a cool thing to have Dick Clark's like mobile. I've never even heard of that. That was like a
Yeah, yeah. The Caravan of Stars. Paul Revere and the Raiders were on it. Uh, there was a guy named Keith Allison who was a solo performer. I think he actually later played some with Paul Revere and the Raiders. But they came to Bowling Green 2 or 3 times, and I went to 2 of those shows, and both times Paul Revere and the Raiders were the headliners. And they had good songs. They made good records.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. And then, you speak of the Grand Ole Opry. I can't even imagine that being like something I could tune into locally because of, where you lived. It was part of how you grew up. But radio itself back then, I'm sure it was influential to you. All sorts of different music you got to hear.
Very much, because growing up in the 60s, it was more wide open in terms of like the rock and roll station in Bowling Green. I mean, I now realize they played everything. So, you'd hear the Strawberry Alarm Clock, or Simon and Garfunkel, followed by the Singing Nun, followed by Marvin Gaye, with and the Supremes, and James Brown, and also and then we can hear WSM for the greatest in country music, all night shows. And then from Gallatin, Tennessee, was WLAC, which was one of the premier R&B stations in America at that time. And so WLAC, I could tune in to hear the R&B. So it was really like a little musical sponge for everything. But yeah, when you get to hear the Stones followed by the Singing Nun, or when Mason Williams came out with Classical Gas, one of the most incredible instrumentals ever written.
Wow.
It was just a great time to grow up, because it didn't seem to me as many. It was all just one big category, and I loved it all. And so I loved bluegrass, and I loved rock and roll. I was in the marching band, played bass violin in the school orchestra, and it was just a wonderful time to grow up. I really am fortunate, I think, and not to mention, and you'd see all these people playing on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Right.
I got to see all the Beatles performances on Ed Sullivan, and the Stones. The night they couldn't say "Let's spend the night together," they had to say "Let's spend some time together."
Oh,
And
wow.
oh yeah, and so and the Ed Sullivan Show, and then the Smothers Brothers Show was really great. And John Hartford was actually one of the writers for the Smothers Brothers Show. And so when Glenn Campbell was the summer replacement show for the Smothers Brothers in the late '60s, there's John Hartford. There's that guy I've seen on local TV shows in Nashville. So it was, John Hartford was a big influence on us.
Yeah, huge. What a guy, what a musician, and all of this is really cool to hear. From that perspective, like you said, from the '60s, you're hearing a huge amalgamation of music
Yes,
uh, under the term rock and roll, station or this R&B station. This, really just very cool to have these things tuned in, and I know that they've all influenced you because you've incorporated so much into your music. It's not just one genre, it's a lot of things.
yes. So radio was my friend, and it was, I loved it. And not to mention baseball on the radio. That's now don't you Chicago people get mad at me. I grew up a Cardinals fan,
Oh no, we're
and
okay.
and but well, I'm not from Illinois or Missouri, so I love the Cubs too. And I followed Harry Carey to the Cubs. But when I was a boy, I listened to Harry Carey on KMOX St. Louis, and then all of a sudden one day he was gone. So, but I was listening to Harry Carey and Jack Buck on KMOX, and then when with cable TV, I became a rev. I watched a lot of Cubs games, and then to the point where now, when I would play in Chicago in the '70s, some of us would get together and watch a Cubs game and take turns trying to imitate Harry Carey, and we actually had a drinking game that went on as well. Whenever Harry mispronounced a Cubs player's name, we did a shot, and I got to tell you, we had to refine that game because you'd be totally smashed by the fourth inning, and so so we had to refine that to sips of beer when
Yeah.
Harry would mispronounce when he'd say instead of Damon Berryhill, he'd call him David Berryman, or when he'd call Andre Dawson Andre Rogers. Uh, and so but yeah, so it became especially like I can remember the '84 Cubs team. I could probably name all of them. So
Wow.
and when the Cubs won the World Series, no one was any happier than me. And I remember I was calling all my Cubs pals. I remember calling Don Sternberg, great mandolin player in Chicago, Cubs fan all his life. We were talking about Green Sky Bluegrass. Dave Bruiser, the guitar player, has been to countless Cubs games and
Oh yeah.
still goes when he can.
Yeah.
He grew
Oh,
up going. He grew up going to Cubs games. I can't imagine that because being from rural Kentucky, there was no such thing as a Major League Baseball team around where we lived. And so, the first game I ever saw was a Major League game. I was 10. We made a pilgrimage to Cincinnati to see the Reds and the Cubs.
oh, cool. Wow. That's amazing. You're right. The voices on baseball and sports radio has always been like soothing to me because my dad would
Me
listen
too.
to, and it would be like in the background. So when I hear it now, I'm like, I could take a nap to this, not because they're boring me, but because it's soothing. It makes me feel like I'm somewhere. I'm where I need to be. But loving that you had a Harry Carey drinking game, which we can pull up some old archives and play it to ourselves. I
Oh
bet.
God, it
That's
was so great.
amazing.
And
Can
if
you
I
give
didn't
us
have,
your best Harry Carey? You still got it or?
let's see. Hi, hello, everybody. This is Harry Carey coming to you from Wrigley Field. We'll be back with the totals in just a moment. But in the meantime, hey, there's a drive. It might be fair. It might be foul. And it is.
I was holding my laughter back. That was amazing. Oh, you killed it. I wasn't sure if you'd be up for the challenge, but you got,
Mine's the Harry that's only had a few beers. This is not the one that has martinis. Like
yeah,
Will Ferrell's is like Harry post-stroke Harry Carey. Mine
yeah.
is pre. But Harry was a great announcer for the Cardinals as well, in the early days before he became such a personality.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Oh,
I have a Harry Carey bobblehead doll at home. Are you kidding?
I love it. Are
I,
you kidding? Hey,
once when I was playing with Emmy Lou Harris, she was at a function where Harry Carey was, and she got Harry to sign a big 8 by 10 piece of paper for me. Hey Sam, holy cow, Harry Carey.
it's amazing. Yeah, I mean that is really that's amazing because growing up here in Chicago, yeah, Harry Carey was a huge thing. I forget he was doing the Cardinals too, so you've heard him
Oh
in
yeah.
both ones. Thanks, Emmy Lou. That's amazing that she got that for. Hey, Sam.
Hey, hey, good looking ball play. Hey, let's hear the kids stuff.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Yes, you're making me think of Will Ferrell and the whole bit about the moon and if it was made out of cheese, would you eat it? If the moon was made out of spare ribs. Oh my gosh, I love it.
That was the way I understand it. That was his audition when for
Really, that
Saturday
makes
Night Live,
sense.
the Harry
Oh
Carey
yeah.
invitation.
Hire him
Hey,
right away.
thank. And there's a whole lot of people that know who Harry Carey is because of Will Ferrell that don't follow baseball.
Oh, you're right.
Oh
That's
yeah,
true. That's so true. Shout out to the radio DJs and the announcers,
absolutely.
all around the world all the
I've
time.
always loved radio announcers, and there's some great ones that I've followed in Nashville. Country music DJs really loved them.
Yeah,
Ralph Emery was a wonderful all night radio DJ when I was growing up.
all night. See, that's even, I mean, they don't even do that stuff. I mean, we do sometimes, but some stations just kind of put on an auto thing, but all night listening to the
Yeah,
radio, those are memories.
WSM in Nashville is still an all night radio.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm getting text messages from people. Awesome interpretation. Awesome impersonation. You did it
Oh,
right,
oh,
Sam.
I my friend Don Sternberg, great mandolin player in Chicago. He played when many times he comes and sits in with us in Chicago, and sometimes we do dueling Harrys. He
Well,
does the best one. I
I
think
would
he's the
love.
best I've heard.
You're gonna have to get some video of that and put it up on a social media or something. The dueling, the
uh,
dueling.
better left unsaid. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. After a couple two tree, you never know. Well, give us an
Right.
idea about who's going to be at the Martin Theater this Saturday. And just for everybody, I kind of told them I would let the listeners know. The Martin Theater was originally the Ravinia Theater. It was open, the only building remaining from the 1904 opening at Ravinia Park. So this is an iconic theater. It looks gorgeous. It's gonna sound amazing. We're really excited for it.
Yeah, yeah, just the pictures I've seen look great, and I'm looking forward to it a lot. Well, I'm very fortunate that I've had this the same five piece band for years now. Chris Brown, our drummer, he and I have now been playing together over 25 years. Hard to believe. Stephen Mogen on guitar is in his 19th year. Todd Parks on bass, somewhere around 14, maybe a little more than that. And Wes Corbett, our young banjo player. I say young because he's only 39. Wes is marvelous banjo player. He's just got a new record out right now called Drift. It's just really full of beautiful instruments. It's not just a great banjo album; it's a great instrumental album. But just for anyone to hear. Wes Corbett is his name. Wes is from his family is from originally Oregon, and so when we were just out in Oregon at our show it was in Bend, Oregon. Wes had 19 relatives at the show, and
Whoa,
they were all wearing T-shirts that said Wes Fest.
that's
so
amazing.
so Wes joined us in late January 2020, and in that year we did 16 shows, and then we were coming home from a Colorado tour. We'd been out there for about 12 days, and we were coming home from Colorado, and we stopped for the bus driver to sleep, a DOT stop, and I'm watching CNN, and they're talking about this pandemic, and I'm going, "Oh man, this is getting wild." And and then about what was it? Let's say about an hour later, Wes had called home, and his wife Courtney is a nurse, and Courtney had said, "Wes, pick up toilet paper. There's a shortage in Nashville. There's going to be a toilet paper shortage." So Wes ran to whatever, I can't remember what store he ran, maybe a Target or something close by, and Wes bought everybody in the band a 12 pack.
Oh my gosh. Good
And
work.
I gotta tell you, it sure helped out. And
Yeah.
Wes had played 16 shows with us, and then we took the rest of the year off.
Yeah.
And so it was during. It shouldn't have. I already did appreciate. I've always appreciated what I get to do, and that it's it's a privilege. But it sure came to really fruition, that thought in 2020 of, wow, how lucky I am to get to do this for a living, and that I enjoy what I do. That's the really lucky part.
That's amazing. It really is. We are lucky as audience members too to be back in person, to be able to be rejoicing in music together with fellow music lovers, to be able to really
Yes,
be there. And I'm grateful for what we got during the pandemic. I'm glad that people were doing, concerts from, empty theaters and broadcasting them. I'm glad we had that technology, but nothing comes close to being, just physically being in a room with people and being able to share energy. That's
absolutely. No,
different.
I agree. I agree, and I say it as we play. So happy we can congregate, and I think that was maybe one of the toughest parts of the. Well, there were many tough parts of the pandemic, but one of the toughest parts was we couldn't see our pals, and you don't we were taking that for granted that we get to see our friends so much. And it's a it's a it's a great part of life, seeing your pals, being together.
It really is. It's something we took for granted. It's just like what we grew up with. It's just what we did. And yeah, you gotta, like we said earlier, you gotta take away something to realize how much you're grateful for it. And we're so grateful to be back at it, and grateful to be in rooms like this one at Ravinia that, a lot of us have
Yeah,
been, we've been to Ravinia forever, but oh, it's that building right when you walk in with the beautiful steps and the foliage all over it. Oh, I can't wait to see what's on the other side. And according to Google here, it says the sound quality in this room, they've had chamber orchestras, they've had amazing things come through here. So I'm sure it's going to sound very, very good as well.
absolutely. So, Wizard, are you coming? Do we get
I
to
am
meet in
def
person?
I would love to come. I'm going to be in Indianapolis, but I'm going to try to make it back to the
Okay,
shows. I just have to go Fridays, so it's my goal to get back for Sam Bush on Saturday.
great. Look forward to meeting a lot of people out there. Be great.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have some merch or somewhere that you can like, hey, say hey after the show, or how do you do that?
Uh, I'm a very lazy merchandiser. Don't have any merch with
Hard.
me.
I hear you. Don't worry about that.
No, just if you come and spend your hard-earned dollars on the show, I think that's pretty good, right?
Yes.
So, but no, well, if you come, we'll meet up.
Absolutely. And anytime you're here, as I like to tell my guests when we do over the phone, if you come back to Chicago and have a little time, we'll have you here. You can obviously see I'm surrounded by all these records. We've been a station, a freeform station since 1974. So we've got every genre of music on these walls. You come in and play some records or sign your name, and we'll chat in person sometime here.
Great. Radio is important. It's not just for music, but radio is important in our country. Public radio is incredibly important, and I'm I'm a little dismayed at the lack of funding there is, and that has been slashed and cut, and for public TV, public radio. I mean, especially for people like me, playing not the normal kind of commercial music that everyone hears. Can't I can't overstate how important it is for performers like us.
Hmm. Thank you. It's so true. We got to keep this alive. And a lot of people said, "Oh, it's dying, radio's dying," but podcasts are huge. People like to listen as a
Yes,
way of consuming media, and I think it's not dying. It's getting back there. It's not as fruitful as it was in the 60s when you got to hear all those things, but you know, just doing this and giving bands a platform and giving us a platform to talk about, especially with college radio, being able to talk about things that you wouldn't hear on, corporate stations. It's a
agreed.
blessing. I'm glad to have a platform.
Absolutely,
Thank you for
absolutely.
thank you for joining us and being a part of this. Especially last minute, I'm like, I got to get Sam on the show. Let's go. So to fit us in between
Well,
your traveling, we appreciate that.
yeah. Well, thank you, and we want to invite all you Cubs fans out to Ravinia, or is it Ravenna? Is it? Hey, you think that's you think they like ravioli out there? Come on, come to Ravinia and hear old Harry on the mandolin.
Oh my gosh. That was the perfect plug. Thank you, Sam Bush, aka Harry Carey. Oh my gosh. We do have ravioli, we'll stuff it with whatever you want, Harry. We got you. It's amazing. We'll see you Saturday. That is the 25th at the Martin Theater at Ravinia. Or is it Ravenna? I'm not sure.
Hey,
Keep it up. Do it again. I love it.
no, I got to go sing. It's time for a
Oh,
sound
that's
check,
true.
actually.
Oh, let me let you go. You have a wonderful evening, and we'll definitely have a nice crew out there for you on Saturday, all right?
Thank you, Wizard. I appreciate it very much. And yes, hope we see you there.
Yes, me too. You want to have a wonderful night performing, safe travels, and I'll see you hopefully in Chicago, if not this time, the next time. Thank you,
Great.
Sam.
Thank you.
Have a great day. It's WZRD Chicago 88.3.